Hey TVs, it's Psychic Bob. Well, it is so awesome to be back with you guys. You guys have just been so good to me. You know, yesterday we had a new series called Free for All Friday on my channel. That means every Friday we're not going to have a set format. We're going to just do whatever inspires me at the time. And so yesterday I showed you some of my art collection, some of my paintings, my works of art I've done. And I've gotten so many wonderful responses and letters. Thank you for all your wonderful support. Well, not to worry, I'm going to have more artworks for you. And so we'll probably have some future Fridays where I'll show you some of my other stuff. But I'm so glad you're here. By the way, I got a treasure in the mail yesterday, but it came late. I didn't get it out before get to open it and show it to you before the video. But look, guys, what I got. Oh my gosh. Check this out. Now, some of you are going to say, Psychic Bob, what is that? Well, it's a beautiful crystal ball. It's cut glass. It's Waterford crystal. For those of you who've been following me, you know I collect fine cut glass, or it's called crystalline glass. This is by Waterford, one of the finest crystal makers in the world. And it's quite heavy because it's full lead crystal. And as many of you know, I've been collecting cut glass for years. And as I'm redoing my house, I'm getting rid of all the junk and I'm, reorganizing and redecorating. So I'm buying myself a few pieces of fine crystal for my home. And this is my newest piece. It's called if you want to get this, you can get it at Waterford or look online. It's called the Leonora Bowl, Leonora, Leonora Bowl. But it's all hand done by Waterford craftsmen, hand cut. If you don't know how they make crystal, it's a really complex process because they have to hand mix the glass, hand blow it, and then they actually take cutting wheels and cut it like they're cutting gems. So it takes a master craftsman to do all the cut work because, at any point it could shatter. So each piece of Waterford's handmade, very heavy, very expensive too. All my friends laugh. They're like, Psychic Bob, you are such a klutz. You're always breaking stuff, and yet you buy the most expensive breakable thing you can buy. I said, well, yeah, I do. But, I've not yet broken Waterford. Thank you, Lord. And I treasure it. Every piece I have. It's so expensive. You can't just go buy it casually. I don't think that Psychic Bob's like mega rich and just buys this every week. I usually buy 1 or 2 pieces a year. Okay, so this is one of my pieces for this year. And I love it. So anyway, I had to share it with you. As I get my house together, it's going to go on display. I'm getting a new table that it's going to be the centerpiece of. So I'll be showing more of this to you. Anyways, I am so glad you guys are here. And welcome to Saturday. And this is Saturday, and this is what we call our Spiritualist Class and Seance Saturday. So for those of you who are new here, by the way, welcome to the newbies. You're still learning our schedule. We have kind of a daily routine here. And on Saturdays, we do a class. A lot of you have written, said you want to learn about spiritualism and spiritualist ideals. So we're going to be doing that each Saturday. And then we have a seance. I am a trance channel, a trance medium. That means I go into trance and spirits speak through me and overshadow me. So we'll be doing that as well today and receive messages from the guides. But we're going to continue on today. This is, we're working on this book together, Sylvia Browne. It's called Mystical Traveler. And a lot of you have been contacting me for private readings. By the way, thank you for contacting me for your private readings. I've so enjoyed meeting so many of you. We've had a great time. But a lot of you have been writing to me and calling me and booking readings and saying, Psychic Bob, I feel I'm being called to service to spirit in a bigger way than I've ever done in my life. That's probably a sign that the spirit world's calling you to be a mystical traveler. Now, what's a mystical traveler? Well, if you've been following our series, you may have somewhat of an idea. But if you haven't, mystical traveler is somebody who devotes their entire life to God. They take a vow to be of service in whatever way. Now, being a mystical traveler doesn't mean you have to, become a monk and go away from your family and live in a monastery. No, most mystical travelers live right here in this world. In fact, you wouldn't even know they're mystical travelers until you get to know them. But these are people who are, I call them the unsung heroes. They help people to develop. They lead the way spiritually. Excuse me, guys, about to sneeze here. And they serve the spirit world. They serve God, Mother, Father, God. And Sylvia Browne is a wonderful lady, a psychic, a medium, a fellow spiritualist. And so we're studying her book. So we're going to continue today with this. And she's talking, and this is in the chapter called A Covenant with God. And this is her next section here. We're on page 43. So I'm just going to read along a little bit of this today, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so even if you don't know this book, just listen in. You'll pick up pretty quickly. And if you know, you might want to get this book. It's not expensive. It's a thinner book by Sylvia Browne, Mystical Traveler. Now, I'm not being endorsed by Hay House or any publishers or Amazon, but you can get these on Amazon or eBay pretty cheap. You buy a used copy. Most of them are flawless. Okay, so we're going to, oops, I got to put on my glasses here. It's like about, it might be a medium. I might see the spirit world, but I can't see a printed page. Tell me the irony of that. All right, so we're on page 43 at the bottom. A little while after I reestablished my work and finances. Oh, let me just stop here. For those of you who weren't here last week, Sylvia was basically talking. I need to explain this so you won't be totally lost. Last week we talked about her experience of where she went into bankruptcy. At the height of her fame, when she was making a lot of money, being on TV, she ended up in a bad business deal, got taken to court, lost a lot of money, and anyways went into bankruptcy. And then at this point she's talking about rebuilding her life after that. Okay, short recap. After a little while, I reestablished my work and finances. My church was in full swing, and Francine, that's her spirit guide, Francine's her spirit guide, disseminated information on becoming a mystical traveler. She shared it with any members of the congregation who were interested over many weeks at my home base in Campbell, California, as well as in Seattle. It was during this period that several ministers and I took our oaths. These were the oaths to become mystical travelers. Not long after this, I lost 9 people in about 3 months. My father, my mother, and several friends, including a doctor who'd been with me for years, just passed away one after the other. I know in my soul that I couldn't have gotten through that horrendous time of grief without the extra grace of the mantle afforded me. I'd also gotten married to my 3rd husband. She's trying to go after Liz Taylor, I think. To my 3rd husband, a man I'd known for 33 years and trusted for more than 20 in my congregation, in my organization. A few years into our marriage, he took off with another woman when they were both with me on a spiritual trip to Egypt. Abbas, a loving friend and tour operator who had taken us on many journeys to that beautiful country, called me every day to see if I was all right. During one of our talks, I warned him not to go to Peru, but he was determined because he needed the money. I said, well, if you must go, don't climb, because I was worried about his heart. You guessed it. He climbed, came back to his hotel room, and dropped dead of a heart attack. So again, I found myself alone and feeling rejected. I filed for divorce from my 3rd husband. In the process, I discovered that he couldn't stand that I was more dedicated to my family and other people than I was to him, even though he'd known what my life was like and what my life was about before he married me. He also took money from me, but the adultery and deceit were the hardest to bear. Then, right in the middle of this debacle, both of my sons got divorced too. It was almost like a giant psychic attack, and at times I felt that I couldn't breathe. I was numb with the betrayal and pain that surrounded me, but I held the mantle tightly around me. Now let's just pause there. So as you can see, Sylvia went through horrific suffering with the loss of family and friends and her own marriage, all within just a short period of time, within a year of getting back on her feet, as if that whole bankruptcy hadn't been enough. And she says here, and I love this, she says, but I held the mantle tightly around me. Now, what's she talking about? She's talking about the mantle of a mystical traveler. In this book, she says that when you accept the role of a mystical traveler, it's like the spirit puts a covering over you, a mantle, a protective cloak to empower and to bless you. And I really believe that's true. You know, in the Catholic faith, they talk about wearing the mantle of Mary, which is the scapular, the little brown scapular. I don't have one here, but I'll show you next time. But anyways, that's considered the mantle of Mary. And she's talking about a similar thing, which is a cloak of spiritual light and protection. So when you say, I will serve the Spirit, I will serve Mother, Father, God, and you make that a commitment and take a vow for a life work, you take on that mantle. Now see, I did that when I was 40. Now I'm 51, so I've been a mystical traveler for 11 years. Now, I've been a psychic longer than that, but really it was when I was around 40 that I fully got the courage to embrace my calling. See, being a mystical traveler is a calling. It's not a job, it's a calling. It's very sacred. But see, being a mystical traveler gave Sylvia the strength to get through all of that craziness. She goes on, she writes, I won't tell you it was instantaneous, but I did come out of this atrocious time with so much stronger, especially with Montel Williams' support. We always know when the other is in trouble. Yet he was having his own pain during this time. The press is cruel and makes things up or twists them around, and all of us have to live with that. What I'm trying to drive home here is that no matter what crucifixion you go through, and it is truly like your soul being ripped apart, your knowledge and faith will strengthen you physically, mentally, and especially spiritually. So this is very interesting. You know, she's confirming the truth again, that being a mystical traveler is a form of power. Now, to embrace that power, it is a serious lifelong commitment. And not everybody has to take it. Don't think, well, I'm not spiritual if I don't become a mystical traveler, because that's not true. Being a mystical traveler is between you and God, and nobody has a right to tell you to do it or not to do it or criticize you, however you do it. But you'll know when you take on that calling. As some of you have sat with me, you know, I've told you in your reading, I said, you're a mystical traveler. And you've said to me, some of you said, oh my God, Bob, that's the word. I felt something, but I didn't know how to describe it. That's what you're a mystical traveler. You're called to service. See, a lot of people now are leaving the traditional way of life of 9-to-5 jobs and taking on a more focused life, a life of healing, a life of readings, a life of spiritual knowledge, a life of teaching, a life of service to humanity. These are callings, and that's part of being a mystical traveler. So we'll finish with this section. Sylvia writes, she says, tragically, my last husband ended up getting throat cancer. I'm not presumptuous enough to think that it was karma, nor would I truly wish anyone any harm. But it's so clear that what goes around comes around. Yet I had deep sorrow and even prayed that he'd make it. Although I kid and make jokes about some of the tragedies in my life, such as saying after he left me I wanted to run over him and that woman with a Mack truck, that was just me trying to ease my very human pain by making light of these things. All of these incidents circle around me to make me stronger and show me that I have to be the captain of my own ship. I realize that my love affair with all of you and the world through my writing, teaching, and lecturing. I realize that my love affair is with all of you and the world through my writing, teaching, and lecturing. My family, my friends, my pets, and my travels are the loves of my all-encompassing and fulfilling life. So, even though I had some hesitation, I'd never ever think of giving up my mantle. Even as hard as life has been, the spiritual gains have far outweighed everything else. If you're suffering or are in a desert period right now, know that becoming a mystical traveler is no quick or miraculous fix. But boy, you do get through it with so much more strength, knowledge, and fortitude. So you get through it with so much more strength, knowledge, and fortitude. You'll find that all of the hardships you suffer only expand your soul, and joy blossoms like flowers blooming after a long, cold winter. We'll pause there with this. So you see, what Sylvia is saying is something that I can personally attest to, because when I became a mystical traveler, it's not that all my problems were fixed and everything was la-di-da. No, in fact, it probably in some ways was more of a struggle. But like Sylvia says, and she's so right, when you take on the mantle and you know your calling, you know you're going to get through because there's no other option but to succeed. So I invite you guys to think about that. Some of you today, and listen, if you're not feeling like you're being called, don't think that makes you any less spiritual or a child of God. Because, I mean, it's like they said, not everybody's going to be a general. The mystical travelers are the spiritual generals. We're the ones that lead the way. This is why, I have a very public life. I am out doing public appearances. I have books written. I do TV shows. I do YouTube. All of that. It's because I'm a mystical traveler. I'm supposed to do that. Some people say, oh, God, Bob, I could never live your life. My God, if I had to go in front of a camera, I'd die. If I got invited on a TV show, I'd freeze. That's okay. It's just not your way of path. You might be called to do something different. So just because you don't do it like me doesn't mean you're not a mystical traveler. But those of us who are mystical travelers will find more often than not that we do get called into some form of kind of public service or public, ability. And so consider that, if you've been feeling called to do something great for God, if you feel called to step out and be counted and stand firm, maybe you've got the beginnings of the calling of a mystical traveler. We're going to continue with this book in the coming weeks. Sylvia later on gets into the oaths. So we're going to talk about later on the oath, how you become a mystical traveler, what the process is. Right now, this is just her kind of showing kind of what led up to her being a mystical traveler and how it impacted her. But we are going to get into the details for each of you in the coming weeks. So definitely keep up with this series. And if you can, get this book. I recommend. It's not expensive. I don't know what the price on this one is. Brand new. I bought this when it was new. Brand new, it was $22. I've seen it online, like Amazon or eBay, and I'm not being endorsed. Like $5, $4 or $5 for this is that book. Now I ended up paying $22, but I could have got it for $4 or $5 if I'd waited and looked online. I don't care. I think it's worth it. I love Sylvia. I put $1 in her pocket any day. Anyways, guys. Well, we're getting ready to do our seance now. So if you were here in my home, which actually you are virtually, I'd say grab your chairs and let's have a little circle. Put your chairs around here in front of me in a circle. We're going to have a little seance circle. Now, for those of you who have not been here, this is something new for you. As I said earlier, I'm a trance channel. That's spelled Trance. Trance, meaning I go into trance states. Actually, see that way. See that? I don't know. Anyways. And when I'm in that state, spirits overshadow my consciousness, and they use me as a vehicle, a telephone in a sense, to speak through. If you've never seen channeling before, it may look a little strange, but don't worry, I'm in no pain. I'm totally safe. I have a lot of trust with my guides, and they don't injure me or take control and possess. See, people say, oh my God, Sacred Bob's possessed by these spirits. No, it's a partnership. Possession means that somebody forces their way and takes control. I have a partnership. We agree to exchange energy, so it's not possession. Very different. Okay. But I hope you'll enjoy this. We'll see what happens. I hope they come through. I have to say, I never know if they're going to come through, but they generally do, so let's hope for it. I've been told by Fletcher earlier, he said, I'll be there this afternoon, so knock on wood, we make the connection. Well, I'm going to take down the lights here, and we'll get ready for our seance. So give me just a moment, and I'll be back. Well, my little seance lamp is broken right now, so this is a little dimmer than what we had before, but it'll be okay. I'm going to settle down and go into trance now. So I'll see you when I get back. greetings, this is Fletcher here. Give us just a moment, we got to get control of the medium's vibration. Oh, there we go. Sometimes when we spirits come in, our frequency is a little high and it can offset the nervous system and make the medium a little jumpy. And it makes us feel like we're on a roller coaster bouncing around inside of his body. So we like to settle him down and get control of the frequency. And we're so glad that all of you be joining with us tonight. We got a few special people that are going to be visiting with us tonight. So I won't beleaguer the point, but I'm going to let a few people speak. And then we got a special guest tonight. This is Fletcher, over and out. Hello, all of you. My name is Alfred. I am one of the spirit guides of this medium. Our medium is so very kind to allow us to use his body to come and speak to you. When we come into the frequency of a medium, we have to be very careful. As Fletcher said, it is a blending of our energies. Our energies blend with the medium's, and hopefully the frequency will be conducive so that our voices will come through his vocal cords. Occasionally we have the frequency too high, and when we come out through the vocal cords, it's such a frequency that cannot be transmitted, at least audibly. And you see the medium speaking as if there is no sound coming out. It is true that our voices are coming through, however, they're at a frequency that is not perceptible by human ears. We lower our vibration in order to be more in harmony with the physical vibration. The spiritual world's vibration operates at a far expanded rate. Over in the spirit world, there are many more colors than exist on Earth. On Earth, you can only see the visible spectrum, and you have, 7 or 8 colors that you can see, initial colors. If you mix those colors, you can create secondary colors and tertiary colors. However, we are more concerned with that which lies beyond the visible spectrum. Many humans make the mistake of thinking that all that they see is all that there is. But do you know that your own science has proven this to be false? For beyond the visible light spectrum, there is the infrared and the ultraviolet. These are each equally powerful. Though not visible to the human eye, they exist nonetheless. And so it is with the spirit world. Our world exists. You do not see it. It is at a rate of frequency higher than the human eye can perceive. When a medium looks and says that they see into the spirit world, it is that their frequency more closely approximates to ours. And it is this blending of energy that allows us to be perceived by the medium. When we step into the body, as we're doing here, we lower the vibration, and thus doing, we can manifest in the physical. Physical and spiritual, though different, have many similarities. The more spiritual you become, the brighter your light comes. Now, in the earth realm, light is measured in ways that is, could it be from dull to blinding? In the spirit world, our frequency of light even surpasses that of earth. Your brightest light, your brightest laser, is nothing compared to the frequency of light in our world. This is why humans must come in a spirit body to the spirit world. If they come to the spirit world in their earthly bodies would be disintegrated by the vibration of sound as well as the vibration of light. Now, do not let this fear you, for when you leave the human body at the time of your death, you will automatically assume a spiritual body which is within your physical body. You could think of your physical body as your outer coat. You will shed your coat and fly to the spirit world in your spirit body, which is like a soft silk pajama. Your spirit body has unlimited power. It can see and hear things that are not perceptible to the physical body. It will allow you to fly, to move through solid objects without impediment. And the spiritual body is one that is eternal. That means it never becomes sick, it never decays, it never dies. Even if your most powerful scientist sent your most powerful nuclear weapon into the spirit world by chance, somehow were able to do that, deploy a nuclear missile into the spirit world, it would have no effect on those who dwell there. The reason is that the frequency of the spirit world far surpasses that of the material world. It is a finer, denser vibration that is not even easily overcome, especially not by weapons of mass destruction and war as you have on the earth. If the people and leaders of the earth would realize that they are spirit beings, not that they will someday be spirit beings, that they are spirit beings now, they would conduct themselves differently. Instead of planning weapons and bombs to kill your neighbor, you would be thinking, how can I maximize the earth's resources to provide abundance for all? Some of you already consider this and say, oh, but Alfred, I have looked into this and I'm finding ways to increase my green ability, my ability to grow plants, my ability to harvest food. These are good and noble endeavors, for if you are in harmony with the earth, you are in harmony with yourself. The problem is that today many people choose to be in disharmony, thinking that the way of disharmony is the way of true progress. This is a lie, and in time will show itself to be a lie. If you're someone today who's saying, but Alfred, I've tried to tell my neighbors of the sacredness of the trees. I've tried to tell them of the spirit voices who comfort me at night. You say, but Alfred, when I told them my sacred truth, all I was mocked. Try to understand that in the material world, as painful as it is, you must continue your mission. You must continue to speak your truth. Understand that not all will accept it. In fact, many will reject it. But it does not dismiss you from the obligation to share your truth of spirit. If you choose to live in the spirit will give you life and healing and blessing and power, and you shall not walk in the way of darkness. Duchess asked me to leave the body now. I said there are others who wish to speak. This is Alfred. Oh, give us just a moment. We've got to get control of the medium's vibration. We got a special guest here tonight, somebody who doesn't come here regularly, but we think you'll be enjoying hearing from her. Oh, there we are, loves. I think I'm in the body now. Can you hear me there, dears? You know, when I was on the earth, I didn't do much in this way of trance work, so I'm not really familiar with the process. But I'm so glad to be here with all of you. Some of you saying, who is this talking? Well, my name, my dears, is Doris. I'm Doris Stokes. Now, don't pay no never mind to me. I'm not one of them posh mediums. I'm not. I'm just a little housewife from Grantham. Oh, those years ago I lived in that little town. Well, it's boomed quite a bit since I lived there, but yes, my early years I was in Grantham. You know, I went back there shortly before I died, and I thought of all my memories. You know, the path to becoming a medium is not something one sets out to do in life. You know, I thought of myself just as a young girl. During the war, I was in the Women's Royal Air Force, and we did community service and helped defend old Mother England against the Nazis. And it was during the war that I met my husband. And you know, it was a happy time, despite all the troubles that England went through in the war. I had a lot of happiness, I did. It was during those early years that I discovered that the truths of spiritualism brought me a lot of peace. I oftentimes would nip around to the local spiritualist church, and I used to go in, and I'd slip in the back, hoping not to be seen. I was quite shy, and I didn't want the mediums to call me out. And there was one lady up on the platform. I don't remember her name now, to tell you the truth. But she used to say, there you are, Doris, you've come again. And I used to say, oh, lady, don't call upon me. I don't. She said, Spirit's calling you, love. Spirit's calling you. And I used to say to myself, oh, I don't think so. Go on to someone else. And afterwards, I tried to slip out of the church. She grabbed me by the arm. She said, Doris, when are you going to let the spirit world lead you? I said, well, I'm busy. I've got a husband and a child, and I really can't be bothered with all this. It's kind of interesting, but I don't have time. She said, my dear, you can try to run from spirit, but you'll never escape. Oh, she was right. She was right. Spirit people, you see, they don't want to nag us. They love us. Oh, I suppose in those days I thought that the spiritualist mediums were nagging me, but I couldn't help it, you know. It brought me a lot of peace in those days. And you know, throughout my life I had a lot of troubles too. You know, everybody said, oh, Doris had such a glamorous life. She was a famous medium. Really, I was just a normal person, quite like anyone else. What you didn't see was that after the stage lights went off, I went back to a little flat. Me and my husband had a little flat. Wasn't nothing fancy, were you? Well, mind you, it wasn't nothing fancy, just a little flat. You know, people thought I was a big star, you know, that I had a big posh house and all. Really, never did. Lived quite simply all my life. But what I discovered was that spiritualism, and listen to me, dears, spiritualism has truth in it. I knew it before I even died. A lot of people say, well, I suppose I'll die and I'll come over and I'll find out. But you don't have to die, love. You just have to say, well, I'll be open to it. And if you're open to it, well, the spirit world will come to you and prove itself. You know, just like that medium in the church, you always nagged me. She said, Doris, they got work for you to do, Doris. Doris, don't ignore the spirit people, Doris. She said, oh, love, why you make it so hard for the spirit people? And I said, I don't know, my dear, I don't know. I just don't. It's not for me, you know. But I couldn't help but think back to when I was a young girl. You know, my father died. I was a young girl. I don't know, maybe 11 years old, I suppose. I can't remember now, you know, tells you the truth. It's funny. When you're over here, a lot of your sense of time changes because there was no time in the spirit world. But I remember thinking as a young girl after my father died, you know, my father was quite the clairvoyant, you know. He was quite a believer in spiritualism, though my mother didn't quite understand it, didn't support it. But I remember shortly after my father died, I saw him plain as day standing in my room. And he said, there, girl. Now go on about your way. Don't pay me no, never mind. Don't pay me no attention. I'm just looking here to make sure you're all right. But I tell you, I got quite a fright. I did. I said, oh, my father's here. And my father said, Doris, just go on your way, my dear. Go on your way. Now, how am I supposed to just pack up my books and go on to school after having my deceased father literally standing in my room? I could not do it, my dear. I could not do it. And as I got older, I kind of shrugged off. I said, oh, must have imagined. It must have not been real. But you know, I saw that old medium, that lady. It was years later, after I'd started to grow up and, you know, I'd gone to spiritual church a few times. Later on, even after I'd moved away from that area, from Grantham, I ran into her one time. I was down in London, actually, and I ran into her, and she said, oh, Doris, the spirit world's told me you've started to serve the spirit world. I said, oh, my dear, yes, it's true. At that time, I was going to the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain and starting to do lectures there and readings and, you know, sittings and demonstrations, platform demonstrations. And I said to that lady, I said, yes, you know, all that nagging you did. She said, oh, Doris, I didn't mean to nag you, none, my dear. I said, yes, but your nagging gave me the courage. Here I am. And she said, well, there, love. Have a lot of faith. Just keep your faith. You're going to be just fine. And I said, yes, I suppose so. I said, you know, thank you for your teachings on spiritualism. Spiritualism allowed me to have hope in my life. And it gave me strength through those dark days of the war. You know, during the war years, I saw a lot of destruction. I was in the areas that were bombed. Oh, and I tell you, you know, all of southern England suffered during those days. But we had a faith in those days, and I suppose it was spiritualism, it was my faith that kept me going. So I extend to each of you today. I say, dear, don't put off what I did. If spiritualism is knocking at your door, which it knocked at my door, then answer that door. And let spiritualism come in and be part of your journey. Oh, if I hadn't fought it, I'd have had so much more help along the way. But you know, the spirit world can only help you if you let them. They're not going to push their way in. So don't worry about no spirits. You know, my husband used to say, Doris, I don't know about these spooks you hang out with. What if they start pestering me? I used to say, there, dear. No spooks are going to pester anybody. Spirit people are our friends. They love us. They want to help us. And so today I encourage all of you, explore the teachings of spiritualism. Spiritualism says that you'll never die. Well, I can tell you, here I am today. I've never died. Yes, my body slipped into a state of closure, but I never ceased to exist. And over in the spirit world, I do a lot of good works, and I help a lot of people. And so let your journey into the world of the spiritual life begin. It's not hard, but it does take a wish. It takes the desire to be of service. And if you'll let the spirit world help you, you can do great things. People always said, Doris, how did you do your lectures and your series, your seminars? The voices would flow through you. I said, to this day, I still can't explain it. I mean, I know the theory of how it works, but it's not theory. It's a state of being. It's saying, I'm willing to serve. And the secret is, you've got to just say, all right, I'll serve. All right, I'll serve. Some of you here tonight, you've been hearing voices, and you think, if I've gone mad, am I daft? My dear, just listen to them. If they tell you good things, who cares where they come from? When you get voices that disturb you and destructive, well, that's a whole nother thing, but really, that's quite rare. So don't let that trouble you. Listen for the spirit people, because they want to help you. Some of you out there I've already visited, and you know that I've come to you, and I'm coming to you here again tonight. Some of you have heard me, and you've said, I can't believe that. Somebody named Doris is talking to me. Well, it's me, my dears. Just allow me to come closer to you. Don't be afraid. We're not here to create new problems for no one. All we in the spirit world want to do is bring a little love to the earth. You know, spiritualism told me that I was loved. I was not a sinner, a person hated by God. You know, I used to know a minister. In fact, well, I suppose we'd call him a Pentecostal minister. That's what they call him, yes. And he used to come around and preaching to me, said, no, we don't abide with that spiritualism. We don't abide with that, Doris. And I said, well, that's fine, my dear. You got your religion, I got mine. Who's got to be fighting about it? I never understood that. People want to be fighting about religion, saying, I've got the truth, you don't have the truth. Well, I can tell you, since coming over here to the spirit world, that the truth is much larger than you would care to understand. I can't even begin to describe it, except to say that God is love. That's the truth of spiritualism taught me, that I was loved, that the world of spirit is a world of love. And those who dwell in love dwell in the spirit world. And it's true, my dears. It's very true. So, lovey, don't let it bother you. Don't let yourself get all tangled up. As was this the truth? That's the truth. Truth is love, my dear. Truth is love. That just says our medium power is starting to go, and I've got to step out of this body. I hope I can get some help getting out of it. You know, as I said, I'm not very experienced in coming in and out of mediums, but this medium's been so kind, and I'm so glad to have had his friendship. Some of you know that I've come through him to speak to you in the past. And so I'm here again, as I said, to let you know that it is me and that I am hearing you and calling you. I have a special message tonight. There's a young lady out there. You know who you are, my dear. I won't say your name here, lest others find out who you are, but you've been going through a difficult time, my dear. But I've come to remind you that your husband is with you. Yes, his name is Jack. You remember? Of course you remember. And Jack's asking me to tell you that he's still with you, my dear. He said that he's been coming to you, Solomon, in a dream. And Jack said, he says to tell you to go ahead and buy that house. You've been thinking about that. And you said, well, I don't know. And he shows me the number. It's got the 242 in the address. I won't give it all out, my dears. But you've got to buy that house. He said it's got his blessing on it. And he said, don't worry, the money will be there for you, my dears. Anyways, Jack asked me to bring that over, and you're out there tonight. You know who you are. I also have another message I wish to deliver here tonight. there's another wonderful lady here with me. Her name is Mary. And Mary's asking me to reach out across to you. She's the sister-in-law of your mother. She's one of your aunts. Mary's here, and you know who you are out there. But Mary's here and asked me to tell you, forgive yourself. You've been too harsh on yourself. Your mother's with her, and your mother forgives you already. In fact, there's nothing to forgive. And Mary said that she greeted your mother when she came over here. And so Mary's helping your mother, helped her cross over, and she's helping you to understand that your mother loves you and she's not mad at you. Looks like there was a falling out right towards the end. And she's asking me to tell you, my dear, she said, have peace. There's nobody to forgive anything anymore. It's all settled. We're all at peace here. Well, love, that's all I can say. The medium power's starting to go, and so Fletcher's asked me to step from the body and to let him have control back. I thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Doris Stokes. So. Oh, well, there we go. This is Fletcher. Well, our medium's power is starting to fade, and we had a great time letting Doris come over here today to you. She was so excited to have a chance to come through and speak to you, and we always welcome her. Well, my dears, I hope that wherever you are today, that you're finding that the road is rising up to meet you, and the sun's not too bright in your eyes. And may you always be walking in that lane of joy on the way to the spirit world. This is Fletcher, over and out. Hey, Tubies. Well, it's so good to be back with you. And I tell you, I say it every week, but it's true. I love this experience of channeling, because whenever I channel and those spirit people come through, it gives me such a profound sense of connection to the spirit world. I hope you've enjoyed today's seance. And if you enjoy my spiritualist work, listen, pop over to my website, www.psychicbob.com. Over there you can read about my work as a medium. And you can also check out my books. I have a number of books. I can't find them. I've moved my published books somewhere. But I have a bookstore at my website. Up at the top of the website, it'll say books. So just go to www.psychicbob.com and check out my books. I'd love the chance to have you do some reading of my works and tell me what you think. Well, guys, listen, it's getting late. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining our class and staying for our seance. You guys are the best. Well, anyways, I hope wherever you are, you're having an awesome Saturday. It's getting dark now. Saturday night, time to party. Cha-cha-cha. You know, if I start drinking a lot, I might end up wearing this as a hat, a Waterford crystal hat. Now, that would be a fashion accessory. Ooh, party, party. If I drink so much that I wear my Waterford bowl as a hat, we know I drank too much. Anyways, don't drink and drive, okay? Anyways, guys, thanks for being here. I love you. Thank you for being part of my channel. If you want to get on my schedule for a private session, I still have some openings this upcoming week. Give me a call, 703-825-3929. And that's my office number. You can call and get on my schedule. Or you can write to me at my email, readings@robert-hickman.com. I'll have those links, all those in the info box below, but I'd love to connect with you. And you know, I always say a private reading is an investment in yourself, because you know, in your private reading, we're going to cover everything. Past, present, future. We're going to identify your spirit guides, bring over messages. We're going to look at your life mission, your past lives, all of that, answer your questions. For those of you who sat with me, you can tell people I give a lot for the time and the money, and I try to really be as thorough as I can. So I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and I thank you guys. Well, listen, we'll be back here tomorrow, Sunday. That's right. So now my days are all off this week. Sunday, be here 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. We're going to have the witching hour. It's going to be a live broadcast, and we're going to talk about all things mystical and witchy. So make sure to be here. We'll see you then, okay? Well, till then, guys, may you all always be blessed, and we'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys. Blessed be.